If you've looked at your bank account lately, or just walked through a grocery store, you already know the unwritten rule of the 2020s. The old financial playbooks are broken. We are living through an era of aggressive inflation, unstable job markets, and a lingering sense that the economic ground beneath our feet could shift at any moment. Most financial advice tells you to download an app, skip your morning coffee, or day trade crypto. But what if the most bulletproof savings strategy ever executed wasn't cooked up on Wall Street? What if it wasn't born inside an Ivy League business school, but was masterminded by a 30-year-old immigrant who spent his 20s in a maximum security dungeon? And what if every single principle he used is hiding in plain sight in a book you probably have sitting on your shelf? Most people read the story of Joseph in the Bible as a purely spiritual Sunday school lesson about a colorful coat and family drama. But if you look closer, it's actually a masterclass in macroeconomic survival. Joseph didn't just survive an economic collapse, he leveraged a crisis to turn Egypt into the absolute superpower of the ancient world. If you clicked on this video, you're likely tired of the get-rich-quick noise. You want something grounded, something that holds when the world shakes. Let's break down the Joseph blueprint, the exact mechanics of an ancient wealth strategy that can completely rewire your financial future over the next 5 years. Accept the cycle. The strategy begins with a brutal truth about reality. A season of plenty is always followed by a season of lack. When Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he predicted 7 years of overwhelming abundance, followed by 7 years of devastating famine. But notice his specific wording in Genesis 41. All the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten. It wasn't going to be a mild market correction or a minor recession. The deficit was going to completely swallow the surplus. Right now, you are in one of 2 seasons. You're either in a fat year or a lean year. If you're struggling right now, take a deep breath. History promises it's a cycle. It will pass. But if things are good, if your income is steady and your bills are paid, Joseph's story forces us to look in the mirror and ask, what are you doing with the fat years? A financial crisis is rarely a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The tech layoffs, the medical emergency, the unexpected roof repair, they are coming. The only thing that determines whether that season breaks you or builds you is the groundwork you lay before it hits. Two, extend your horizon. Most of us operate on a 30-day financial horizon. We think from paycheck to paycheck or billing cycle to billing cycle. If we're feeling ambitious, maybe we look out to the end of the year. But Joseph was executing a 14-year macroeconomic plan. 7 years of controlled distribution. The Bible says a good person leaves an inheritance to their children's children. That is a multi-generational horizon. When you expand the timeline of your life, the quality of your daily decisions instantly changes. When you start thinking in decades rather than days, you stop making impulsive, short-term moves with your money. You stop blowing the bonus on temporary luxury because you realize you're building a fortress, not just funding a weekend. 3. Treat savings like a bill, not a leftover. This is where the strategy gets incredibly practical. Joseph told Pharaoh to appoint commissioners to take 1/5 of the harvest, exactly 20% during the years of abundance. Notice that he didn't say, let's see what the people have left over at the end of the year and throw it in a pile. He didn't make saving optional. He set a rigid, non-negotiable percentage right at the top of the harvest. Modern personal finance experts call this paying yourself first, and they recommend that exact same figure, 20%. But Joseph was running this playbook 3 millennia ago.
Think about your own budget. Your rent or mortgage is non-negotiable. Your internet bill is non-negotiable. But for most of us, our savings account gets whatever scraps are left over at the end of the month, which is usually nothing.
If you want to change your financial trajectory, your savings has to become a fixed bill that you pay to your future self before anyone else gets a dime.
Old way: income, then expenses, then savings, if any. Joseph way: income, then 20% storehouse, then expenses. 4. Build a secure infrastructure. Genesis records that Joseph didn't just collect the grain, he stored it systematically in the cities. He built dedicated, centralized warehouses that were heavily guarded, climate-controlled against spoilage, and meticulously tracked.
A lot of people save money haphazardly. A few dollars in an old checking account, some cash hidden in a drawer, a little bit sitting in a volatile investment account they barely understand. If your savings are scattered and unstructured, it's highly vulnerable to being spent. You need a clear infrastructure. That means a dedicated high-yield savings account that is entirely separate from your daily checking account. It means dividing your money with clear intentions: an emergency fund, a mid-term transition fund, and long-term assets. If your money doesn't have a specific home, it will find a way to leave you. 5. Prioritize real liquidity. This is a detail most people completely overlook. Joseph didn't tell Egypt to store gold, silver, jewelry, or real estate. He stored grain. Why? Because when a famine hits, you cannot eat gold coins. Grain had immediate utility. It was highly liquid, meaning it could be instantly deployed to solve the crisis at hand without a massive delay or a penalty fee. In modern terms, you need to make sure your emergency fund is actually liquid. Having all your net worth tied up in equity, retirement accounts, or volatile investments means that if an emergency hits tomorrow, you might be forced to liquidate at a loss or take on high-interest debt just to get cash. Keep your baseline defense. 6. Starve the lifestyle creep. When the 7 years of abundance arrived, the land produced overwhelmingly. It would have been incredibly easy for Joseph and Pharaoh to relax the rules. They could have said, "Look how much we have. Let's lower the savings rate to 5% this year and enjoy ourselves." Instead, the text says Joseph doubled down, storing grain like the sand of the sea. He refused to let the abundance decay his discipline. In economics, we call this lifestyle inflation. Your income goes up, so your expenses naturally rise to meet it. You get a raise, so you buy a flashier car. Your business scales, so your vacation budget doubles. Your net wealth stays exactly the same despite making significantly more money. Joseph teaches us that when your income increases, your savings rate should scale, not just your lifestyle. 7. Preparation equals influence. This is where the entire blueprint culminates. When the famine eventually struck the region, it didn't just impact Egypt, it devastated the entire known world. But look at how the chapter ends. And all the countries came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph. Egypt became an economic anchor for the globe, not because they were smarter, faster, or inherently better, but simply because they were prepared when everyone else was guessing. Your financial discipline, real biblical stewardship, always moves from preservation to provision. When you build a financial storehouse, you are building the capacity to be an answer to someone else's prayer. It means when a family member faces a crisis, you can write a check without destroying your own life.
It means when a massive opportunity or a noble cause crosses your path, you have the margin to say yes without hesitation. You aren't just saving for a rainy day, you are building a platform for impact. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe or hit a notification bell today. Instead, I want to challenge you to do just one thing. Pick exactly one of these 7 principles and execute it within the next 48 hours. Move 20% of your next check immediately to a separate account. Open that high-yield savings fund, or sit down and map out your actual overhead.
Joseph didn't wait for the famine to start building the barns. He started on day 1 of the harvest. The best time to build your storehouse was years ago. The second best time is today. Joseph didn't wait for the famine to start building the barns. He started on day 1 of the harvest. The best time to build your storehouse was years ago. The second best time is today.